Artsy's sister, and we're reading Saturnastra Karina, lesson 6, on hoarding, overstuffing stuff. While the students walk with their teacher, part 2. While the students walked with the teacher, Janos and Lucian were arguing. Without some target to argue, Janos was using Lucian as a replacement. It would take months for Lucian to realize it, and thus he would distance himself from Janos whenever he was in that type of argumentative mood. After half an hour walking in the street, Karina stopped for a second. There was a toy store belonging to her brother Chicot. He always had a bunch of cute stuff to sell. Karina opened her purse and she signed. Afterwards, she continued on her way. Lucian noted where Karina had stopped, and he made a mental note of it. He was tempted of buying a silly doll for her, but then remembering the last time he had visited her house, he decided not to. As Karina once put it, one only buys gifts for friends on their birthday, and even then not so much, since regifting is an ancient tradition. Lucian could not remember the last time he had gotten something he liked as a present. When he was small, he used to ask for things specific, but he never got what he wanted. There was always an excuse, and even when they had money, the gifts were usually for utilitarian purposes. In fact, the first toy he had ever gotten was gifted to him by Marduke, who was visiting the store. It was recently that he was able to put 2 and 2 together. No unrelated guy would ever give a gift to a child, unless they were up to something. At least this is what his mother told him before taking the little toy horse away from him and putting a price tag on it. Like she always saw all the gifts that Marduke gave to her brat. He stopped was distracted when his little group came upon the crowd of people protesting. The preacher type of fellow was on top of a soapbox. He was wearing dingy clothing, but if one looked closely, they would realize that he was wearing what he thought a poor person should wear. And even a homeless fellow in Aragon could bathe for free in the public baths funded and created by Melina. This marked the person to Karina as a charlatan, and a recent arrival not in tune with the vibe of the people living in Aragon. They called the speech around this part with demons, a charlatan and a madman, a spineless coward in bed with crime laws he frees, while he has honest, hard-working people sent to the gallows. Karina interrupted him by saying, "Liar, I was just in Veragerung, and there are no gallows. They are covered, there are no gallows. Were converted to gardens. Look at here, ladies and gentlemen," said the man in the soapbox. Karina and her observer was trained to remember the identity of the person who looked ordinary. His face seemed familiar, but they couldn't put their finger on it. The man said, "There she's a demon who was sent here to confuse us. Do not listen to her lies." Moving straight through the crowd, Janos said, "I am Janos Coresi. Behold my family seal." "That looks fake," said a fellow beside him. And other people in the crowd said similar nonsense. Janos continued, "These so-called crime laws were political prisoners who stood up against the elders and their injustices." One of the men from the crowd smacked Janos in the head with a brick. Janos fell flat on the floor and dizzy. The students pushed through the crowd to fetch him, while the other people said mean things. After rejoining the teacher, Karina said to Janos, How would you go about dealing with this problem? By allowing gatherings that had nothing to do with religious worship, bartering, and weddings, birthdays, or home defense," said Janos, rubbing the back of his head. "Why are they not paying attention to us anymore?" asked Miko, concerned. "My silly skull was worried about the children, and so it created a psychic field that makes those around us not take us seriously," said Karina. "That just flew past me," said Casimir, passing his head over his head to illustrate his lack of understanding. "It makes people think we're homeless," said Karina. "Ah, I see," said Carmela, nodding with understanding. Due to her long lifespan, Carmela had experienced all facets of wealth. She had been both extremely rich and extremely poor for a long time. As a result, like Karina, she stressed about money, and at times it would take her months for her to get something that she truly wanted and she could actually afford. Even now, whenever Carmela was going to buy something, she would remember the words of wisdom of her father. "Say what you can, because when you can't, there won't be any money to save." As for Karina, she was not too keen on becoming a hoarder like her brother Rimaru. It It had almost happened to her once when collecting talents. It went from being a mission to an obsession. It got so bad that Karina was taking talents of people instead of making a carbon copy of them. And Marduke had to put a stop to her before she created a city, those talentless folks. Karina was thinking of this and many other nonsense while distracted from the very reason she had come there. On the background, her students were getting annoyed by the guy speaking badly about their fellow king Marduke, though most of the things he said were true as much as Karina hated to admit it. Casimir eventually said, I think I finally remember who this fellow is. Ah, yes, said Camilla. Now I remember his name. He is Gale something. He lost his title and wealth, and he would have left with only the clothing on his back had Marduke not allowed him to keep a quarter of it. What was his crime? Asked Janos. He had a guy prisoner, which he used to torture every once in a while, said Lucian. No, I think the guy was really a hurt. He kidnapped a girl when she was 5, and he held her prisoner to do all sorts of sorties, said Miko. Not really. What really happened was that he ran over the son of the midwife for lying to him about his daughter who was not truly dead but only stolen, said Regin. No, what really happened was that he tended to be chronically mean to one of his employees, and nobody did nothing for decades, and the fellow eventually died of stress. And when Marduke came to power, the ghost of the man came to Marduke and brought up charges against him. And that is why Gale got 8, and he was terribly passive-aggressive, devil husband with the public humiliations of his wife and coercion. It got so bad that the wife tried more than once to escape with her kids, and to help her, Marduke kicked Gale and his brother out of the kingdom for a toxic personality. My brother has a very low tolerance for tomfoolery and wife abuse. He may forgive thieves and may be a murderer too, but never a chronic wife abuser, explained Karina. Time, bro?
7 minutes, 50 seconds.
Aha, I can see why he will have a bone to pick with your brother. Many criminals were created by circumstance. Now being a law-abiding jerk is all on you, and it eventually can escalate if you do not put it in check, said Karina. Karina was about to continue, but then the mass of people started marching towards the market. Within their mind, Karina shot fireworks in the sky. This alarmed the crowd, and soon a bunch of little pudgy dragons started swarming around them. The pudgy is what I call the tiny dragon.
Oh, gotcha. So they were like, you were describing fat dragons.
Most of them were fat flyers. Tiny, like chibi. Chibi dragon. They were the first responders to riot, and they became a bit of a more commonplace ever since the Lord of Veragerung, Leo, had become a professional alcoholic. The dragons started batting their wings, and they released from their mouths chloroform or ketamine. The strange gas caused many to disperse and to return home. Those that continued eventually fell asleep 5 minutes later due to the exposure. Due to the narrow street leading to the market, it was easy to concentrate the gas in one location. When the riot gas came, there were burn masks designed to filter out most of the gases spewed by the tiny dragons. Since Karina and her students did not follow after the rioters, they were not exposed to the gas, but they did get to see the dragons. A strong wind came down from the mountains, and within minutes it rained in Aragon again. Shivering, Regin said, "Let's go back to the classroom." "Wait, since we are in Aragon, let's go to the market," suggested Lucian. "Sure, why not?" said Karina. She took from beneath her robe some umbrellas, and now her students could walk in the streets without getting wet. While they made their way to the market, they saw the riot guards taking the sleeping rioters away. "Isn't that a bit overboard? They were only marching towards the market," said Janos. "Need I remind you that most protesters are just glorified looters. Look, they brought weapons with them. The whole protesting scene was just a cover for what they were really up to. So they were pretending to protest, but they were just there to loot." Certamente. She said this in part because she had almost been robbed by a looter once. The students stood there seeing the protesters being taken away. Among them were curious bystanders who had also fallen under the effect of the gas. They were revived by the pudgy dragons who had photographic memory. Many of the would-be looters were newcomers who had been displaced by the wars. Others were recent exiles from Veragerung. Being sent to Aragon was a soft exile, but planning an attack on the merchant, the lifeblood of the city, warranted a more severe type of punishment. Still, those matters would be put on hold till the return of Alessa, wife of Leo, the Lord of Aragon. While her husband was indisposed or drunk, which was a kind of way of saying drunk, she was managing the affairs of the kingdom. When the students arrived to the market, they were amazed by all of the strange items on sale. Due to Aragon's proximity to Dolkai, the local market was often had strange goods from the Grey aliens. The Greys were a little bit of an annoying to banter with, since they did not accept cash. Still, as long as the locals provided the food supplies and other bizarre requests, then they could reap the benefits of the city on top of the plateau with two rivers on either side. Karina looked on top of the mountain, and she thought she saw the shadow of the city. It was a little bit further back as all, but there were little outlook towers for stargazers and people watchers. Time?
4 minutes and 1 second.
Letodus whined and said, if I knew we were going shopping, I would have brought my purse. Karina reached into her pocket and she said, here are 5,000 gold coins. You can pay me back later. Thank you. You won't regret this, said Letodus happily. The students spread about to look at the things they could take with them. Most stuck to familiar items like weapons, food, flowers, plants, and clothing. Letodus, on the other hand, took a keen interest in the unfamiliar. Since he had seen a large shipper that day, Karina followed after him. Letodus picked up a box and he opened it and saw sticks. He said, what are these? Matches, said the salesman. Aren't those a little dangerous? Said Letodus. They are safer. Look, said the salesman, lighting up a match. Matches were not widely in circulation due to the unstable versions circulating in the kingdom. To remedy this problem, the Grey aliens decided to introduce to the local wildlife the safer versions by selling them for items they did not really need, like literature and fine works of art. Another thing that caught Letodus' attention was a salesman of blueprints. While looking through this inventory, he saw a print for making a slitting mill. Whether Letodus could make mill to merchandise the production of nails made from iron bars. A couple of other merchants had taken a whack at the blueprint, but only Letodus was ever successful in replicating it. The rest of the money he spent on discount fabrics that were pleasing to the eye or unusual. With 5,000 bucks, Letodus ended up taking more than he could carry. Seeing Letodus lugging around his spices, Karina smiled. She said to him, holding out a little bag, here, put it inside. Much to Letodus' surprise, every item fitted inside the little bag nicely. Karina said, you can borrow this for now, and when you get back to your storage place, empty the bag and bring it back. Why isn't this bag mass-produced by mages? Asked Letodus, looking at the magic bag of holding. Well, there was a country where it was beta tested and it was a real mess. The merchants went to other cities and stockpiled on pretty much everything. It got so bad that there was an artificial famine and everything, and wars broke out because of this little bag. Just think about it. A thief with a tiny bag could easily steal everything that was not nailed to the floor. It is dangerous to have the ability to take whatever you want, explained Karina. Time?
1 minute 30 seconds.
With the freedom to take larger items, Letodus went crazy with the items he wanted. After much buying and reselling, the fellow had amassed quite a large inventory, almost enough to fill an entire storehouse. By the end of class, Letodus was lugging about a piano. He said to Karina, how do I make this piano fit in this tiny bag? Well, first you wiggle your fingers in there, and eventually the hole becomes a lot bigger. Said Karina, laughing. Not funny, said Letodus. To you, perhaps. But do you really need this piano? Asked Karina. That's a creepy joke. Alright, time?
Less than a minute.
Alright, we'll finish it later. Bye-bye. God bless.